So the Chiefs have a problem, one that has become more evident as time goes on this season, and it's also affecting Mahomes' overall performance this year. And in today's video, I'll go into what that is. Andy Reid giving us even more not great news about Rashee Rice's surgery, a new addition to the injury report, and more. But first, how about those? All right, first up, we have an update on Rashee Rice. And it's not a good one. I mean, I'm sure you hear that and think, come on, Cole, how much worse can it actually get? He's out for the season as it is and will still be facing an upcoming suspension depending on how the legal issues play out. Well, it does get worse, believe it or not. It looks like the repair on his knee was a bit more drastic than initially reported, and it could affect his performance upon return, though I hope it does not. And to bring you all up to speed, last week it was reported that Rashee Rice had his LCL and a hamstring tendon repaired, which meant roughly a 4-month recovery. Well, today, Andy Reid shared that Rice had work on the posterolateral corner of his knee, his PLC, and made it sound like the surgery involved a bit more repair than initially believed. Basically, the LCL is one of the 4 major ligaments of the knee and is part of the larger group of complex structures referred to as the PLC to provide stability to the outside of the knee. Well, Dr. Jesse Morse shared that he was hoping it was just the LCL and hamstring tendon that was initially reported, but it looks like the entire PLC had to be reconstructed. Posterolateral corners are complicated and concerning, in his opinion. Dr. Jesse Morse then said Rice's possible suspension plus this injury, the recovery, rehab, all of that means we may not see Rice until mid to late 2025, at least in regards to the 2025 NFL season. And that is if Rice is lucky. Dr. Morse then shared there's a 15 to 20% chance Rice may never be the same player post-injury, which, quote, would be awful. I certainly agree that would be awful, but I hope that is not the case. And Rice returns to form because he was looking fantastic out there. It was just such an odd ordeal, the whole Rice injury, the mysterious intrigue / cloudiness surrounding the clarity of Rice's injury and what was actually going on. You finally find out, in theory, what's going on per reports last week, but then Andy Reid reports that it's even worse than that. So this has been a weird journey to follow. Rice's injury and even a freak thing of how it even happened with Mahomes, colliding into him. And it is rather unfortunate to say the least. Andy Reid also compared this recovery time to that of an ACL, so that's going to be closer to a 9 to 12-month recovery. He said the PLC repair is, quote, probably the same result recovery-wise as an ACL. So yeah, not ideal and is worse news than expected, but it does not affect the team in the near future because regardless, Rice was out for the season. It does beg the question, though, of will the Chiefs go out and get a receiver before the trade deadline on November 5th? I would think yes, and went over several potential possibilities, a couple free agents, but players you could also trade for. Some players that are expensive, maybe not as expensive, some players on their rookie deals. You could check that video wherever it goes, it'll pop up and you could take a look at that if you want. But the Chiefs beat reporters also wanted to potentially know more today during Andy Reid's presser. And the Chiefs are down their wide receiver 1 and 2 in Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, both out for the season, though there is a small chance Hollywood might be able to return by the playoffs. We shall see about that. Regardless, you now have Xavier Worthy getting an increased role and Juju Smith-Schuster as the main receiving targets, outside of tight end Travis Kelce, of course. But after that, the room gets a bit suspect. Sure, you can use Mecole Hardman like you did last week in some niche gadgety roles out there on the offense, and he does a good job with that. But what about a guy that can win and separate against man coverage? Rice was kind of that guy, and in theory, Hollywood was supposed to be that guy as well, but we never really got to see for sure. And Juju, he had a great game last week, yes, but that was him doing a lot of damage against zone coverage. That's why the thought is, go get somebody that can beat man coverage, please, and thank you, because it's not going to be Sky Moore, right? It's Justin Watson is fine, but he's got kind of a niche role that you can use him in as well. Well, anyway, Andy Reid was asked about the trade deadline and what their thoughts were behind that, especially when you consider the fact of bringing somebody in that already has knowledge of the system. Andy basically said Veach is going to handle all the details. But again, the question was around the familiarity of the offense. So Andy said familiarity is what helped Juju's return this year, as well as Mecole Hardman's return last year. Their ability to jump back into the offense quickly is because they are already familiar with the system. But he's not saying other guys with no familiarity in the offense can't come in and help out. It would just take them longer to get brought up to speed than players like Juju or McColl, again, who have previously been with this team. They did that with Kadarius Toney a couple of seasons ago when they traded for him from the Giants before the trade deadline. But with that being said, Andy Reid made sure to let the reporters know that doesn't mean he feels like they have to bring somebody in.
And I'm not saying that we need to bring anybody else in. You asked a question. I'm just saying that I'm answering your question on that, man.
I feel like Andy just needed to clarify there, not to get anybody's hopes up or overpromise anything. I'm sure Brett Veach is making phone calls, maybe even calling every single team that's like 1-4, 1-5, 2-4 at the moment. Go get Amari Cooper or somebody like that, please. Now, a guy that they do have that's been playing well so far is the rookie wideout Xavier Worthy. Andy said he's done a nice job for the team, does a lot of things in a lot of different positions. There's flexibility to move him around as well, and he's a quick learner. That's helped his progress, and they haven't tapped out his potential yet. Great news there. He then said he'll keep improving as time goes along, and quote, "That is exciting." Rice himself wasn't seeing a heavier workload in the offense his rookie year, so last year, until about the midway point of last season, and therefore I do think we see more out of Worthy in the second half of the season, especially when you consider the injuries in that room. He's still not completely in step, or in tune rather, with Patrick Mahomes. They were off on a few different throws last week, but I do think that is going to get better as time goes on. But hey, let me know who you think the Chiefs should go and get receiver-wise before the deadline. Someone that probably won't break the bank on the Chiefs' cap space, which is around $4-ish million right now. From here, I want to talk about some legit concerns I have with the Chiefs' offense and this playing a role into Mahomes' subpar season so far from a statistical perspective. So I got to get into that. A player battling a new injury as well as one about to return very soon. But before I get to all that, I got to shout out the longest active sponsor of the channel, Bear Mattress. Bear is a premium fiberglass-free mattress designed to upgrade your sleep quality, and it's conveniently shipped to your front door for free within the US. They are currently running a fall sale, but Bear has given me a unique discount code that's higher than what's being offered on site. So head to bearmattress.com/HBTC and use my code HBTC. My wife and I have had our mattress for 2 years now, time flies, which has not only been great for my low back pain, but we loved ours so much we got a Bear Cub mattress for one of our daughters as well a few months ago. Since then, she's been in a borderline hibernating state. But don't just take our word for it. Bear also ran a survey on over 300 of their recent customers where 82% saw an improvement in their sleep quality on their new Bear mattress, which is why 95% of those customers said they'd recommend Bear to a friend. Plus, Bear knows everybody has different preferences and sleep positions, which is why there's an online quiz you can take to help you remove all the guesswork. I sleep on my back and prefer a medium firmness to my mattress, but my wife sleeps on her stomach and prefers a mattress that's more firm, and that's why Bear matched us up with the Elite Hybrid mattress to benefit us both, and over the course of 2 years, it really has. Our experience was just like yours would be after ordering. Both of these mattresses were shipped to our front door, again, for free in the US, were super easy to unbox and set up, and has made our nights a better sleep experience overall. If you sleep hot, Bear's sleep recovery technology uses Celliant-powered fabric to help you stay cool throughout the night. On top of that, all of Bear's mattresses are fiberglass-free and created without the use of harmful chemicals, so you can sleep safely and soundly knowing there will be no off-gassing. And then Bear believes in their products so much that they even offer a 120-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure that you love it. They even offer financing options and flexible payment plans. I certainly love my quality of sleep with Bear Mattress, and I think you will too. So to upgrade your sleep, go to bearmattress.com/HBTC and use code HBTC to get 40% off plus 2 free pillows for a limited time. This is actually higher than what's being offered on site, so check it out while you can. Next up, Andy Reid mentioned there are areas that can be improved on all phases of the ball, which is something they studied upon during the bye week, taking a look over the first 5 games and evaluating everything. Defense, offense, and special teams, they can improve on all phases. He did say a big key for the offense is finishing drives. Penalties and dropped balls in the red zone are a point of emphasis, especially in the red zone. They want to put some of the guys in better positions to make plays as well, but the bigger factors are the penalties and miscues while down inside the 20. And yeah, the Chiefs are like 29th in red zone touchdown percentage right now, with the Cowboys falling to the 30th spot this weekend after getting manhandled by the Lions. And the other big problem is the penalties and a big guy on a big contract contributing to those, and I'll speak on that in a moment. But Andy was actually asked about the left tackle spot, so we'll go to the right tackle in a second, but It was between the battle of Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia, and this was brought up because Wanya Morris got his knee banged up in the Saints game, having to leave the field of play. He did return, and as you'll see here in a moment, Andy didn't make it seem like Wanya will be missing any real time when he talked about injuries. He did say, though, they are watching both Wanya and Kingsley and think they can both do better in their play. They'll let the process of who starts keep rolling as they kind of go along, though I would imagine for now that continues to be Wanya Morris. And on the subject of the offensive tackles, let's move over to the other side. We got to talk about it because I think this is an issue in the Chiefs offense or within the Chiefs offense that has caused some problems here. For starters, right tackle Jawaan Taylor led the NFL in penalties last year, and this year he is currently tied for 4th among all offensive tackles and penalties with 7. The only guys with more are Tyler Guyton and Garrett Boyles with 8, and then Laramie Tunsil has 12. Good God, that is a lot. Penalties aside, Jawaan is struggling a bit this season. If you look at all tackles who have played 50% of snaps per PFF, again, you can take their grades with a grain of salt sometimes, but it does give you like a generic idea of where these guys are. And Taylor is graded out near the bottom of all tackles in run blocking and his overall grade, with his pass rush grade still being below average. He's also tied for 33rd out of 59 tackles who qualify in pressures allowed with 9. So while that is definitely a problem considering his pretty massive contract, the left side is not any better. Wanya Morris is much closer to the bottom of tackles in all of his grades and has allowed just 1 less pressure than Jawaan Taylor, even though he's played around 100 less offensive snaps. Then Kingsley Suamataia, who Wanya ended up replacing after getting worked over by Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals, is at the bottom of the list among tackles who have played 20% of snaps. He's ranking bottom 3 in a couple of his grades and allowed 6 pressures on just 114 snaps played. So yeah, I do think poor tackle play at times combined with the fact that Trey Smith himself has also allowed 10 pressures, which is the most on the team. That's all affecting Mahomes and his comfortability in the pocket, which is less than ideal. It affects your read progression, the willingness to hang in the pocket, even if at times that pocket is clean. You start to see ghosts a little bit and move out of the pocket earlier than you need to. And then, of course, that hampers the overall play design when you force your receivers to go on scramble drills. Overall, the Chiefs are 19th in their pass blocking grade, but 7th when running the ball, and that could definitely be playing a role as to why the Chiefs are running the ball at a much greater level than any other year in the Mahomes era. In spite of the tackle play, Mahomes has still been sacked the 7th least in the NFL, so it's not all bad. He has the 6th best completion percentage, even though he's not taking a bunch of deep shots down the field, for what that is worth. And then they are doing well above average on third downs, and the Chiefs are still averaging 23.6 points per game. That's 15th in the league, despite the pressures given up by the O-line and all the red zone woes that we just discussed. The hope here is the tackle play improves as the season goes along, and that should help build up Mahomes' confidence up a bit. It'll also help that teams should, in theory, eventually need to respect the run. Kansas City's run game, since they do have one of the best rushing success rates in the league right now. More respect for the run should help mitigate pressure at times, as you won't always know if it's a pass or a run play. And speaking of the run game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had his 21-day window to return from that NFI list. He started out the season on the NFI list. It opened back up, I think it was on October 3rd, and that means he doesn't have to return to the active roster for this Sunday's game against the Niners, but they will for sure have to make a decision next week. You either bring him to the active roster or place him on the NFI or IR for the entire season, I believe. And Andy was asked about the possibility of Clyde returning this week, and he said CEH will be back in tomorrow, and they will get with him first before putting anything out publicly. So I do think he has a pretty decent chance of returning this week. But if he does, what does that do to the running back room? Carson Steele, yeah, he's been struggling a little bit with the fumbles and protecting the football. But you do have Kareem Hunt, who has been carrying the workload so far through 2 games. Samaje Perine is the third down running back. So if you bring Clyde Edwards-Helaire back, what are you doing with the running back room? You got to let me know your thoughts on that, because Kareem Hunt had 27 carries last game, and he's looking very good so far through 2 games, already forcing 10 missed tackles. Andy said this about Sunday's game against the Niners and Kareem Hunt's workload. He said, quote, "We'll just see how the game goes, but I feel comfortable with him carrying the ball." Well, yeah, me too. Now, we touched on Rice's injury, which is indeed unfortunate, though again, it doesn't affect anything for this season. Overall, the players who are on the active roster are relatively healthy, aside from a newish addition. I say newish because he was banged up week 3 with his calf being listed on the injury report and was ruled out in the game against the Falcons. Well, it looks like Mike Danna returns to the injury report in some fashion. Andy Reid said he hurt his pec sometime during the Week 5 game against the Saints. He finished playing his normal range of snaps if you look at the snap count, but Andy said that Danna is the only player to really report on at the moment as far as injuries are concerned. And the first injury report doesn't actually come out until Wednesday, so we shall see what that looks like come Wednesday and if there are any other new additions to it after the Chiefs got some time to rest up on their pretty early Week 6 bye. And from there, KC travels to San Francisco for a 3:25 midday matchup against the Niners. And Tom Brady will be on the call for what that is worth. And the Niners themselves are pretty banged up. CMC isn't likely, from what it looks like, he isn't likely to return for this game. In spite of that, the Chiefs are still 1.5-point underdogs. And I will preview this game later on in the week. But for now, let me know your thoughts on this game, the injury report, and updates that I just brought you. And that's all the Chiefs news I have for you. So until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those Chiefs?